This show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings and, of course, to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Womenomics podcast, So Care for Entrepreneurs. We are so excited for another Womenomics Wednesday. I am your co-host here, Brian of T. Brian Notary Services.
And I'm Corinne of Freedom Notary Services.
And we have an extremely special guest. I'm super excited. First of all, shout out to Todd Capital's Mastermind. All right. It's such a diversity of entrepreneurs in there. And we have been graced with Mr. HiveMind himself. Please, Daniel, introduce yourself.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate you inviting me. Like I said, I enjoy doing these, not just for doing them and for doing them's purpose, but just for the conversation. So I appreciate you guys having me on. For everybody who doesn't know, I'm Daniel Martinez, Daniel HiveMind on Instagram. You go check me out. I've been entrepreneur for about 5 years now. I originally used to load truck driver, got into real estate software, and I do a bunch of other stuff now.
That is super
It's a 30-second spiel.
That's great. So we're definitely diving into them 30 seconds and expanding a lot more. So you started off with saying you've been an entrepreneur for 5 years. Our famous question that we always love to start our conversations off is, when did you know that you could be an entrepreneur?
It was really a there's no good time to be an entrepreneur. For everybody out there, like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur in a year from now. And like, it's probably not going to happen. So there's no good time. And I've always wanted to do it, but like, there's no good time to do it. So when I found out my wife was pregnant, I'm like, okay, it has to be right now. Because if 5 years from now, I'm going to have a 5-year-old, and I'm like, I'm definitely not going to do it then. So it has to be right now. So when I found out my wife was pregnant, I'm like, let's just do it. So I worked like 6 days for like 9 months. I made like $100K that year, and then I quit. Actually, I took a two week vacation. Then I took a 3-month paternity leave, and then I quit.
That's the way to use your benefits. Yes. The grand exit.
So when you started your own business, so I did a little background digging, and I know you owned your own trucking company. So was that the business? That was your first business that you started?
That was my first business that I started because I had my CDL. So what business do you start? Like, I know how to drive a truck. Worst case scenario, I'll just drive the truck that I own. So that's why I went into trucking. And I wish I would have done more research, but it's the path you take is it helps grow and propel you. I say this all the time, is that entrepreneurship is a survive as long as you can so you get there type thing.
I love that. That's real. That is very real. And I feel like you give a lot of gems, on your own podcast and just in the mastermind and just really showing up. So what are some of the qualities that you have to have as an entrepreneur in order to really survive? Because like you said, like, entrepreneurship is basically survivalship until you make it. So for us who are still on the ship, we haven't quite made it yet. What are some qualities that, we can start to possess or add to our, just to our everyday to really show up and make our business a success?
Persistence, consistency, and intentionality. Persistence, because a lot of people, they get like, there's a Mike Tyson quote. He's like, everybody wants to box and get in a fight so they get punched in the face a few times. So the reality of persistence and consistency. So you have to you have to do this every day. Like a lot of people, they joke around like, oh, I work from working 40 hours a week to entrepreneurship, or I work 90 hours a week as a joke, but it's 100% true. And it's you work a lot more, but you have the freedom, flexibility to when you want to work, and that's the difference. And then intentionality is, and this is a big one for me, is not every business should be run by you. So you have to be, and I think I went golfing with Charles, who's Talk Capital Mastermind leader, and I was mentioning with him because another entrepreneur, he started like a side business, and it was like one of those things where like, is this really going to get you to where you want to be? Should it be run by you? Is there something out there that you can do that's going to put you in a better position to succeed? And is it worth more of your time? Because everybody has that one thing that everybody's on the same 24 hours. Elon Musk, that's worth $1 billion, has the same 24 hours I do. So what's the difference? It's being productive with what you do. So I think that's the big thing as far as like what you do is really important, because does it really have an ending that you want to receive?
So you run your business with or build it with the end in mind.
Yeah, you build it with that in mind, 100%. Like with the software company, I want to go straight to $1 billion, and I'm not being facetious or slight about it. Like I have the ability to help thousands of clients, so why not go for helping thousands of clients and help and go that direction? So it's something that has the scalability to take you to where you want to go, or have an exit. Like, hey, I'm going to build it up to this point and exit out of this business and sell it off. So you have to think of the end in mind of what that goal, what that business is going to actually do for you.
I love that. I love that. That is so good. And it's something to say about intentionality and really just reverse engineering your goals, kind of like what you were mentioning. So a lot of the times we have a goal of like, we want to reach 6 figures, but we don't have a numerical number in order to start to, kind of quantify what our services and, the products that we provide, how we can kind of get to that goal. So I love the idea of reverse engineering. I love the idea of, like Coach Michelle always says, productively producing, or essentially just, having the task and activities. You're doing stuff towards whatever your goal is, whatever you have set out to do for yourself. So I love that. Do you mind just sharing a story of a time where, you might have felt defeated, you might have felt like you weren't walking in intention within your business, and especially making such a shift from, owning and operating a trucking company into shifting over into, more tech and a software space, especially again, switching industries over into real estate. So I would love to hear a story about that.
So everybody, and this is, if you look at publicly traded companies, especially publicly traded trucking companies, they operate off a margin of 3% or less.
Okay.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? It means that every dollar they bring in, 97% of it goes to operating costs, and they only keep 3 cents.
Oh, wow.
So their margin is not that big, and they're $1 billion. Yes, they do billions of dollars of business, so that translates into maybe $1 billion or multi-millions of dollars. But you got to think of me as a solopreneur or a small business, what you're stepping into. And that's the mistake I made, was stepping into that business. My profit margin is 10% on paper, but then you have all the other costs that comes into business and running that business itself, that it takes away in your profit margin. And I did that for 2 years and lost $100,000. I generated $550,000 in 2 years, but I still lost $100,000. So it goes to show, like, circle back to, not every business should be run by you, and not every business is in the right direction that's going to meet your goals. Which is why I talk about, that's why I don't mind talking about trucking at all, because there's people that are truck drivers just like I was, that think that starting a trucking business is the way to go, not really understanding the business side of trucking. There was one point I had 5 trucks. I was paying $10,000 a month in insurance. What does that mean? That means the first $10,000 has to go straight to insurance. Well, while you're making that $10,000, you have to pay employees, you have to pay insurance, you have to pay repairs, you have to pay breakdowns. So now you have to make $20,000 just to pay that 10. And it's just, there's a lot that goes into that, and you really don't understand that unless you understand the business side of things. Like there's entrepreneurs like, oh, I make $1 million this year. Well, not really, because they have cost of business. They might have employees, they might have salespeople, they might have insurance, they might have all these other costs that have to pay out. That yes, they generated $1 million, but what did they actually keep?
Right.
So what keeps you, because I know with solopreneurs, most of us don't start off with all that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of how things work. We don't know that in a year we may not be in business, or we may be in the brink of failure. So what can you say about that journey for yourself, and being, I guess, mentally staying above water when there's so much, even though you learned a lot, and you've learned a lot, I'm sure, through loss as well. So how do you mentally stay above water to keep going? Because I know you're almost 5 years in. So a lot of times, like for me, I'm thinking like, I've hit a year. Like that's a major accomplishment. And so for those who are hitting 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, I always am curious about their journey. And so I know the mindset shifts, and then you have days where you may feel just as hopeless as the newbie that started. So what keeps you going?
So one thing I'll say to that is, if you want to make hundreds, and this is where you have self-employed people like, I want to make 100 grand a year. Well, 100 grand a year comes with 100 grand a year problems. If you want to make 250 grand a year, you got to deal with 250 grand a year problems. If you want to make $1 million a year, you got to deal with millionaire problems. So the problems don't go away when you hit a certain level. So that's that I want to break that down. Like that doesn't exist. They just get bigger. So you have to grow through your own pains, because if you can't deal with a $5,000 problem, you can't deal with a $200,000 problem. So it kind of builds up that muscle. So what I'll say about that is, when you enter into solopreneurship, you're wearing every hat. Before you were just a salesperson doing your job. Now when you go into entrepreneurship, your sales, your accounting, your your management,
content, everything,
HR,
HR. Yeah, you're a videographer, you're a content creator, you're doing all this extra stuff that you shouldn't do. So think about this: as you grow your business, you build departments around what it is. So bigger business is actually easier because you can delegate. There's capital, there's money being created to delegate. There's people in place to handle HR. There's people in place to handle accounting. There's people in place to handle payroll. There's people in place to handle all these responsibilities. So it's no longer all on you. Mm-hmm. And that's the big step of taking small business to big business. And the big thing about small business is, like, it's all on you. I have to wear all these hats. Like when I'm out there selling, I have to put my salesman hat and I have to sell. As soon as I hop in my car, I have to take it off, because now I gotta fulfill. You got to fulfill whatever you're selling. You got to be a fulfillment side. And you go home, you got to do the accounting and the books and payroll and taxes. So now you got to take that hat off and switch it off when you get home. So the thing is you want to grow to big business because you can delegate and you can delegate and automate a lot of these responsibilities where they're not depending on you. And this is where partnership comes in too. If you partner with somebody that is opposite of you, they can handle different portions of you. So there's a whole thing of like, focus on your weaknesses and make those strengths. I'm like, no. That's the wrong way to go about it. The right way to go about it is to, whatever your strengths are, build up those strengths to make them better, and either partner or delegate those weaknesses, because there's somebody out there that is 10 times better, and that's their strength, that can fill that spot and fill that position for you.
That's gem.
Good. Yeah. That's good. And I heard that in a webinar one time, just to paraphrase, it was do more of what works. It's so simple, but it's so true. And a lot of times we kind of overcomplicate things because we have, so much to prove when starting your own business and going in as an entrepreneur. You don't always have people who support you, or you have a lot of people relying on you to make sure that this is successful. So there's a lot of different stresses that you have to deal with on a day-to-day. And like you said, the more money you make, the more problems you obtain. They don't go away. So what I would love to hear from you, Daniel, is what does your morning routine look like? Like, how do you set yourself up for the day? I know we've been hive mind with you. So I would love to know what your morning routine is. If you are an intentions person, an affirmations person, a planning person, like, what does your mornings look like?
So, I am not the 4 a.m. person. There's not a 4 a.m. bone in my body. Uh, I usually sleep in every morning, and this is where it comes down to. I think Coach Michelle talks about this all the time: is that you have to take care of yourself. If you don't rest and sleep, you can't operate at a high level, and you need to operate at a high level. So me, I get better results after because I got kids. I got a 5-year-old. I mean, I got a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So
Oh,
I got kids
wow.
just like everybody else. I want to spend time with them. So after they go to bed, I usually work if I need to after they go to sleep. So I'm productive at night because I don't have the distractions. My wife goes to bed. She wakes up early with the kids, and I handle the kids at night. I put them to bed and all that stuff. But then I get to sleep in technically. So I get up. It's kind of funny, but I get up at like 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific time, and like I have clients in the East Coast, and I'm not doing meetings till 1 o'clock your time. I'm sorry, it's just
Yeah,
how it is.
I
That's not
love
bad.
that. I would say, yeah,
And like
it's definitely a dream.
it's like I'm not a morning person, so I'm not gonna pretend like I get up at 7 a.m. every day. Like I just don't do it. And like yes, like 4 a.m. people that go to the gym and they're more successful. I'm like I still make money, so
That's right. I mean, it's nothing better than just keeping it real with what works for you
Yeah.
versus trying to, you know, fit a square into a circle or whatever the saying goes, because you're just never going to be at your best because it's just not you. It's better to maximize your potential within what, what you're capable of and what you're comfortable with. So I like that. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And like I said, I have employees that start before I do. So guess who works? That's where I have people in place. They're live in another country and it's like 10 p.m. and they're there at work at 7 a.m. and I get up at 9. So that's why like even the mastermind when they had it evenings I was there every call because they had it like at 6 p.m. But when they switched it to mornings, I'm like I'll be there when I get there.
But that's
So,
great.
so Daniel, what results have you reached in your business so far that excites you the most?
It's it's not even like my results. It's what and this is where it comes down to doing what you love. My clients have gotten great results, and I think it's the biggest thing. And I've hit big numbers, but it's just crazy to me. Like everybody should have your personal life, like your family and your free time, and the ability to travel when you want to. But you have to have that business why too. Why do you do the business that you do?
Yeah.
So I really didn't know what that was till I had a client hit a 6 figure a month, and I'm like, whoa, okay. How many more can we do like this? Like, who else needs help?
Mhm.
Like, let me help my clients hit 6 figure months. I didn't hit a 6 figure month personally till uh, June. It was like May of this year. May of this year.
Mm.
I,
Congratulations.
I had clients hit it before I did, so it was one of those things. Like I was like, let's do more of that. It
No,
was
that's good.
it was kind of an accident too, but it's just my business that I do. Like I said, I still do real estate, and we're doing like 6 figure paydays, but I don't necessarily call that as a month because that might have taken 2 or 3 months to actually complete. But it's one of those things where like if I can help more clients make more money, I'm in the right space, and I can sleep well at night. Know I'm doing that.
So you didn't have that expectation for your business until you saw it, so that it just expand what was possible for you in the business.
Well, and this is where like it's hard. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, it is hard. It's very hard. Like most people think like 50,000 a month is like their goal, but I'm like, you probably need close to 6 figures a month to to really take home what you want to take home. So it's like building your business big enough to where it doesn't require so much of you.
Mm.
That's always the goal. I think we talked about it this morning in the mastermind call. It's one of those things where like if your goal should be build a business big enough where it doesn't require you, because if it
Yeah.
requires you, you can never do anything you want. So I the guy I actually learned real estate from. He started real estate when he was like 17. He did real estate for 4 or 5 years, and then he made all the money he needed to, and then pivoted into like online marketing, where you can run it from a computer from any country. So
Wow.
I like real estate because it's a tool to create a lot of wealth, and then pivot into whatever you want to do from that point on.
Okay. We gotta let that one sit, because a lot of people feel like, their business has to be, sometimes the end all be all, and that doesn't have to be the case. You can always use it to, pivot or fund however you want to live, like whatever lifestyle you want to build. So as someone who is in their first year of entrepreneurship and who's always worked in healthcare, which is extremely demanding, you don't have any time off, you don't have any holidays, they don't care about your kids, people gonna be sick. So to switch over into this space, it's so different. And the one thing that I want to get a little bit of a conversation going about is how has it been kind of building your own business around your lifestyle versus building your lifestyle around your business? You spoke about, the partnership that you have with your wife in terms of caring for your kids, making sure you get your amounts of sleep, knowing where your most active and engaged hours are, and you can see the success not only within your clients but within your own personal, business. So yeah, like what has that been like? Because that's non-traditional.
So one thing I'll say is business isn't forever. So you have to think about it that there's a lifespan of your business, because technology is changing. Most businesses that have been around 50 years or more, there's very, very few of them. So you got to think of your business as a time frame. So if there's a time to make money, you got to capitalize on that time and think of an exit strategy with it to pivot into something else. Because as you grow older, different opportunities being created. So you got to transition with the times, because if you, for example, you guys are, I don't know how old you guys are, but Blockbuster was a thing back when I grew up, and they didn't change with the times, and they got left behind where they went down to zero. So you got to think of that. Your business that you're creating has a shelf life. If you don't pivot it, if you don't change it, if you don't transition it through the times. So you got to think of what business sector has been here for 100 years and will still be here in 100 years, or what can change that business. So if I can build it up to a certain point and exit and pivot into another niche, that's why it's always looking for other opportunities, because you have to transition. Because Bitcoin it started about 20 years ago, but now you kind of see it coming up, blockchain coming up, and a transition point happening. So you don't have to catch the first wave and be the person that's making waves in that space, but you can see it and know it's there and just hop into it whenever it's created and built itself up. As far as creating the life you want, you don't need that much money to be free. And a lot of people I've had this conversation with my older brother, and he's like, I need 10 rental properties to quit my job. And I'm like, you really don't. You really don't. And this is where it comes to like knowing what your base is. And there's people, this is crazy. I heard one of my clients, he does a lot of content, and he's like, if you have an employee that makes $30,000 a year, that's happy, if you pay him $100,000 a year, he'll actually hurt himself, because he has all this extra money. He makes this much more money. He doesn't know how to handle it. So whenever he burns himself out in that position, it goes like $30,000 a year again, he'll be happy again. And it's crazy that it works out. People have that mentality, like, you don't need that much to survive. Like, people like, I need $100,000 a year. I'm like, you really don't. Like, when I first got married, we lived tight, and I was happy then. So like, even right now when I entered entrepreneurship, in that first couple of years, I was in that same position. So I'm like, I'm happy here again. Now I actually have the flexibility to choose where I want. So my wife's like, oh, I want to go to this weekend. I'm like, all right, let me just block off the calendars. Let me know in advance so I can block off my calendar and we go. It's not even a problem at this point. Because like I said, I have the flexibility to choose when I want off and where I want to go. And it's just, hey, let's just go. So it's creating the life you want and spend the time with the family you want. And this is where I have a client on another level than me, and asked them how they're doing. Like, oh, we're just at the beach watching the kids playing at the beach. And I'm like, I'm over here. I'm like, I'm still grinding. So, and like, there's levels to it. Like, some people, like, you need to build this up to a certain point. That way you can kind of step back and that's where you get out of the business and you can kind of relax. But some people, they take it to extremes and then they don't sleep. Like Elon Musk, he has a like a bed on the floor at his factory, so when he's there, he can sleep and work there. Like, is the work-life balance what's really important?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So what does free mean to you? Because you make a good point. Like, does your brother need 10 properties to be free, to be happy? I guess we always wonder, we think when in the absence of money, in the absence of massive wealth, we think that will be the destination or the goal to have, but we're really just seeking the feeling of having certain things. We're seeking the experience. So when you said things were tight and you were happy then, I guess it makes me think about or curious about your relationship with money and growth. And so could you talk a little bit about that? Because a lot of us sometimes, let me just speak for me. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I know not having things creates some level of tension. And so then the fantasy of having all these things or setting very, very lofty goals, thinking that that's the destination. So that's the destination of satisfaction and happiness. And so then along the way, the journey is you don't always give yourself permission to kind of lean into happiness because you haven't gotten there yet. So I think it will be good for the audience to hear like how you define happiness and freedom, because it's not necessarily equated with massive wealth.
So, I think it goes down to like your mindset and your ability to feel uncomfortable. A lot of people, they can't handle the cold, so like they stay away from the cold. And you have other people that can't handle the heat or humidity, so they kind of stay away from that whatever they can't handle. So there's extremes that you can't handle personally, and I think it's different for every individual. So like, there's people that do like ice cold plunges to like realign their body to take being uncomfortable more, as a normal thing. So they put their body through extremes to force being uncomfortable. So, like me, I'm very easygoing. Like, always like, you don't get mad at nothing. And I'm like, because when it comes down to it, it's not going to it's not going to make less or make me more dollars. If I let somebody borrow $1,000, it's not going to hurt my pocket. Not that they might never pay me back. And that's what like you freely put out into the world expecting nothing back, and you're always happy. So it's almost like a mindset thing where like, I just put out, put out, put out. Somebody wants to take that energy and make something with it, that's on them. But I know I'm content in putting out the energy and putting out the good resources and putting out the good karma, that whether it's used or not, it's not my I did my part.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. I'm like, a lot of people are like, well, they owe me money, and like, well, are you really gonna complain about it for 10 years and hold a grudge against them on
Right.
their personal faults, or are you just going to let it go and have a relationship with them? Like, what's really important, and what are you going to hold on to, as a whole? Like, when our time passes, what's really left behind?
Yeah.
So
That's so true.
you gotta value what's in front of you and what's really important. There's a video I watched recently, is that, your friends that from the past that knew you, they knew a different version of you if you've grown to a different level. And it's not that you left your friends behind, it's just that you've grown to another level that they didn't grow to, so you have to find new friends. So like that, like your best friend forever, like, good luck. If you're growing, you're probably gonna leave them behind. And if you grow fast, you're gonna leave them behind even faster. So your relationships and your decisions are for a season, and you shouldn't think of them like all my decisions I made in the past. If I might have wronged somebody, I'm like, hey, that wasn't even me. I don't even know who that was. I don't even know what I had for dinner yesterday. Like, that's just in the past. I'm worried about tomorrow and the future.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself
Okay.
in the future in any, I don't know, however you see the future, like where do you see yourself? Because who you are today is you're a whole lot wiser than you were when you started your journey. And so if you double the time in entrepreneurship, I guess 4 years from now, 5 years from now, You may look at this video and say, gosh, if I knew what I know now, I would have answered that question differently. So where do you see yourself mindset wise? Because I think it's just as important to set, personal development goals, because we're only as good as, our experiences, our challenges, where we are in this very moment, but we don't know what's around the corner that will also refine us.
So my only goal I put on myself is that I increase myself and do better from the person I did yesterday. So a lot of people that were like, I had this conversation recently. I taught them something that most people will never learn in their lifetime. And I taught them something like, I wish I would have known this 5-10 years ago. And I'm like, well, 5-10 years ago, you weren't even in the space to receive this.
That's right. Yeah.
So just let it go. I mean, whatever happened behind you. There's a lot of people think like, I want to be successful by I'm 30 years old. I want to be a millionaire by I'm 30 years old. I'm like, that's not really the right mindset when you actually attain and move toward that goal as a whole, because it's one of those things where like you'll get there when you get there. The path that I'm going down is being laid in front of me. So like my 5-year goal, I have no idea. I mean, from me being a truck driver, literally driving trucks 4 years ago to now, I could never put myself in this position. I have no idea. It's just everything's just going.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's super dope. I love that. You've definitely reaffirmed a lot for me in this time, talking, just really just reshifting or refocusing, my mindset. Cause I think when you're out there, when you're trying to find your way, whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur or you're a new entrepreneur, it's just a lot of information, a lot of people telling you which way to go, a lot of things that you want to do yourself, a lot of losses that you take in silence and you don't really know how to handle it. So, one thing that we're very big on here at Womenomics is helping people build their toolkit to reframe the limitations of their mind, because that's really what stops us from anything great is us. And, it really starts with the mind, which I love the whole idea of hive mind. So being that mind is in there, and you spoke a lot about mindset today, what are some tools that people can have in their toolkit to help reframe the limitations of their mind?
I think one of the biggest hacks into business and entrepreneurship is there's I don't know who quoted this, but it's one of those things where like you find somebody that can be a mentor to you to kind of guide you down the path you want to be. You find somebody that's the same level of you, that way you can kind of share experiences, and you find somebody behind you, that way you can bring them up to your level. And it always changes as you move up. So a good teacher and a good mentor should push you past their level. And it's not even a bad thing. It's a good thing, because they kind of put you on their shoulders to step up. So like I had a mentor when I was in trucking, and what I'm doing now has kind of surpassed him. But now I'm like, dude, come on, let's go. I'm heading this direction. You've helped me get to you helped me get even past where you were. Let me show you the way this way. So now I'm like helping one of my mentors go down the path I am. And it's one of those things where like I have people I look up to that are reshaping my thought processes and helping attain the goals that I want to attain. Like I said, I haven't made it any more than anybody else. It's just that I know my experiences have shaped who I am, and I'm not ashamed of the path I've taken. So it's one of those things where like I said, I know I'm heading in the right direction. I used to make a joke about this in trucking. I used to talk to truck drivers all the time. They're like, I got 15 years experience. And I'm like, no, you don't. He's like, no, I've been doing this for 15 years. And I'm like, no, you don't. You've done the same thing. You did the same thing 1 year, and you just copied it over and over again. That's not experience. That's just replication.
That's a good one. That's good.
That's true.
That's good.
I bet he felt bad.
And like it's just like you wasted a lot of time. So like like people that really change and move up, you can tell because they've grown and experienced new things. Like literally 5 years ago, I was in a truck. So it's just like I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal or nothing. It's just that try and grow yourself year over year, day over day, month over month to a better person, because the person you really want to be is in front of you. It's just you got to build up to there. You can't jump the steps to get to where you want to go, you got to crawl up there sometimes.
That's a word.
Yeah. I like the idea of, having a mentor, having someone that's on your level and pulling someone else up. I don't think we give enough credit to, I think we sometimes take advantage of the people that's on our level because they're kind of there, but we're looking for more and more and more. So we lean on the mentors, and then we're sometimes so self-absorbed of trying to make it that we're not pulling up people behind us. So it's good to kind of have that holistic approach to it, because then the journey is much more richer versus just trying to race to the finish line, and then you end up on a hamster wheel because you're not considering those other components. So like that's a gem. Like I've never even thought of it that way. I guess sometimes we do it haphazardly. I try to look out for other people and share knowledge and stuff like that, but not with intention like that. So thank you for sharing that. That's going to go down. That's a whole soundbite.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely something that.
well, one thing I'll say too is that it's not everybody can be helped. Like there's people out there that want to help everybody, and like if they did it this way, they'd do better results. And like I can't force wisdom down their throat. You have to take people that want to receive it. So, and then like other things is that people hear what they want to hear. So like people listen to this conversation. If you caught something that resonated with you or it stuck with you, if you listen to it again 6 months later, and if you've grown, you can listen to that same conversation, you'll catch something else just because it might not resonate. So it's like people call it like people that are religious like read the Bible. Like you can read that same verse over and over again, and a year later it's going to mean something totally different to you. And conversations work the same way, and experiences work the same way. So like if you're going through a hard time now, you're like, oh, you think it's the end of the world. And this when I was going through trucking, my business actually went down under, and people were calling my family. Like everybody's like, oh, Daniel, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. I was like, people in my position would probably be depressed and suicidal, but I'm fine. I'm good. And that shows you like the burdens that you think you're under and the amount of pressure. When you grow, you think it's a mountain or a fence, and when you grow it, it's just a little anthill that you got to step over. Mm-hmm. But it's experience that makes you see it and gives you perspective to overcome that. Whereas when you were in it, you're like, this is the end of the world. What am I going to do tomorrow? The world is ending. You're like Chicken Run. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. You think there's no way out, but it's really, you got to like pull yourself out from that situation to really understand that it's nothing. Is it really going to affect the bottom line? Is it really going to change what you do a year from now? And you kind of go step away from it.
That's good. Yeah, you gave a lot. You gave a lot to think about. You gave a lot to even come back. And like you said, just having a different perspective on this conversation a couple of months from now. Like I can't imagine. You know what? I'm going to make sure I come back. What's today? October 26th. I'm going to come back a year from today, October 26th, and rewatch this. And I just want to just see all of the differences. I'm going to tag you, Corinne. I'm going to tag you, Daniel. And it's going to be such a great experience. So first off, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about HiveMind, where people can connect with you, how they can use your services, your products, and where we can find you.
So I am Daniel HiveMind on Instagram. Like I said earlier, we're HiveMind CRM on all platforms. We have the Hive With Us podcast with 1,000 episodes a year from now. I'm just kidding. Since I'm talking to Corinne's future self.
Love that.
No, but we're HiveMind everywhere. Literally, we put content out everywhere you can think of, from places that you've never heard of. We're there. And it's just putting out the content, putting out valuable content. We do real estate entrepreneurship education. We do a lot of land education, real estate education, and business education. Our software is a business automation tool to help you expand and grow your business. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. HiveMindCRM.io. And then, nothing to sell you, but if you want to take your business to the next level, let me know.
And we'll have all that in the description box as well.
Absolutely. And I'm actually looking forward. I want to come to your summit. I want to come to your next summit. So I'm excited about that. Can you just give us a little bit about the summit real quick?
So everybody that wants to speak, it's really hard to get in the speaking game. So what do? You just start your own. You start your own event.
That's right. That's smart.
Who can deny you from your own event? So, and a lot of people and everybody that wants to speak, it's kind of, I'm being facetious, but it's 100% true. And like, I not that I wanted to speak, it's just I always felt like I had something to say. Ain't no one gonna put me on my platform. So where do you go first? You just create your own platform. I don't need permission from anybody else to do what I want to do. So we do an annual event every year. We've done it Dallas, Fort Lauderdale. Now we're doing San Antonio in 2023. It'll be our third annual event. 10 years from now, guess what? We'll be at 13 years. We're not going to stop doing it just because we're not going to stop doing it. And we did our event 6 months in after starting our business, and like people thought we were crazy. But it's just creating your own space, and a lot of people, they think they need other people to get to where they want to go. And the truth is, you just build it on yourself, and people respect it more because you did it on your own. So now I have people looking at me like, "How'd you do this?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? I just did it myself."
You just didn't ask for permission. You just did.
I didn't ask for permission. Like a lot of people are like, "How do you have 240 episodes?"
Because you did them.
Yep.
Wow.
No, seriously.
What gives you the credibility to do 240 episodes? I don't know. I started with episode 1, I recorded it, and then I started episode 2 and I recorded it. And then now I'm at 240 episodes, and that's how I got here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how the majority of thought is similar. So to you, so matter of fact, you just made the decision. You gave yourself permission. To the most people, it's like, who said it was okay? Who said you can say it that way?
It's where we're like school and the job has bad thought processes, and they put you in a position where you have to ask permission. You have to raise your hand to get called upon. You have to make sure you're in the right line. That way you can get to where you're going safely without being hurt or hit by a car or whatever. I'm like, no. When entrepreneurship, it's the opposite. You gotta start trailblazing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. You gave us so much to work with. You gave us so much to just learn and bask in. Just so many things to think about. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you taking your precious time out to come and have this wonderful conversation with us. Corinne, I'm always going to throw it to you. Any last words?
I don't have any last words besides, I just want to express my gratitude for you coming on our show. We appreciate you, and we look forward to sharing this with the world so that they can be inspired just as we are.
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, it's everybody talks about legacy. What legacy you're going to leave behind? So by you guys producing and creating this content, it's something that will be on forever that you don't even know the impact you'll make. So I appreciate you by creating it and making the decision to create it and continue to create it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. All right, y'all. This was another wonderful episode of Womenomics Podcast. Shout out to Daniel. Make sure you tap in with him. Make sure you tap in with the podcast, with the summit, with the CRM, everything that Hive Mind has going on, and tap in with us. This is another Womenomics Wednesday. We love y'all. See you next week. Bye.
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying this content. If you have leads that you need to dispo anywhere in the country, please visit hivebc.io, like hivebuyersclub.io, and we'll help you move those deals that you need to get into the marketplace.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the skip trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.onelistguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.
Welcome to today's episode. We have our guest, Mr. Rick Elmore, who is a direct mail provider. If you haven't seen his original video, go check it out. It's going to be a link in the bio. Go definitely check it out.